Hello. All right, we're in the camera, so here we go. All right, so my name is Sonny Fleming, and this is my brother-in-law, Wayne Barker, and it's Memorial Day coming up on Monday. It's a Memorial Day weekend, so I had some questions that I wanted to ask him about his experience in Vietnam. If you have any questions or anything that you want to, when you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can put those down, and I'll try to get answers for you. But right now, I just wanted to kind of give you an introduction of who Wayne is. Wayne is married to my sister for how many years? You don't have, you look at me.
47. 47.
47 years? Okay. Periodically, Wayne has come up and talked about his experiences in Vietnam, but I thought it would be important to ask because I don't think everybody knows some of these stories. So when you're doing this, Wayne, you can look at the camera, you can look at me, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. It's just real informal. So my first question is, how did you wind up in Vietnam in the first place?
Well, I volunteered to go into service.
What year was that?
1966.
Okay. The year I was born?
Yeah.
Okay.
Signed up for Airborne Special Forces and to go to radio school. Ended up dropping out of airborne training, and so that voided my contract, and so they put me straight into the infantry. And of course I went straight to Vietnam because that's what they needed over there, was infantrymen.
Well, you told me a little bit once about how all that started. You were with your buddies, and you're from Moultrie?
Well,
Where?
I wasn't. I was living in Macon,
Okay.
Georgia, when I'd already signed up to go in the Navy, and while I was waiting to go in, some guys I knew decided they wanted to go into service with me, so I went back up to the naval recruiter and told them we wanted to go in on the buddy plan, and they had already had as many men. They'd already made the quota for that month for the Navy, and so I said to heck with you and went downstairs and joined the Army with my buddies.
Okay. All right, so did you know there was a Vietnam War going on?
Not really. I didn't watch the news.
Okay.
I guess maybe in the back of my head I knew something was going on, but I was young. I was 19 years old and didn't really know what was going on in the world. Didn't ever watch the news. I was too busy out doing things that 19-year-old boys do.
What did your parents know you were signing up?
After I signed up.
So they found out after you signed up?
Well, I can't remember. I may have told my mother but she thought I was going to the Navy. But I didn't tell my daddy till I was already signed up and ready to go in. I had to come up to, he was living in Atlanta, and I came up to do my physical to go in to Atlanta on Ponce de Leon Avenue.
Okay.
And I think I'd already told my dad before then. I don't remember. I might have waited till I came up here to take my physical to tell him. I just don't remember.
Okay. All right. So you were 19. And how many tours did you do in Vietnam?
One tour.
One tour?
Yeah.
Is that enough?
12 months, more than enough.
Okay.
I knew guys that did 2 or 3 tours, and I don't see how they did it.
Well, what is it that, I mean, some of this is probably common sense, but I'm just going to ask you anyway. So some people did 2 or 3. You're like, I'm just not doing that. So what were you thinking? This is terrible. I'm not doing this anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I knew, well, it's after being scared almost every day for a year, you pretty much had enough of it.
Okay. All right, so go ahead.
And you're just thankful that you're going to get to go home.
Yeah, I heard you say once, seems like sometimes the ones who didn't get to go home. Well, this is not broad brushing, so we can't say that's the case. But you said sometimes there were those who, what did you call it? They were, I don't know, trying to be a hero, or
Yeah.
what does that mean?
The heroes.
Is that what you guys called them?
Yeah, heroes usually ended up getting killed in Vietnam.
What would they do?
Because they would take chances that everybody else wouldn't take, you know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I just know a few stories, and so I'm going to ask you just tell me, you know, your version of them, because I don't know them all that well, but I want you to tell me what you know. Okay. So somewhere in the mix of things, your son Adam, or someone has told me the story about I don't know if it's a pontoon boat that
No, it was a rubber boat.
Okay, what's that?
Big rubber boat, inflatable boat.
What were you doing on a rubber boat in Vietnam?
I don't know why we got on that boat. My platoon got in these two rubber boats and went down the river, and everybody else walked back to the base camp. I don't know if we were looking for something. You know,
Okay.
I don't remember, and they might not even told us what was going on. You know, they just tell us to get in the boat, and we get in the boat. But we got in these.
What happened?
We got in these inflatable boats, and we were going down the river, and two VC opened up with a Browning automatic rifle on the banks and shot up our boat. They let the first boat go through, and then they shot up our boat. And me and one other guy were the only ones that made it off that boat. Everybody else got killed.
How many were killed?
I think it was just a squad, so it was like 6 or 8 guys.
Mm-hmm. 6 or 8. Okay, how did you get out of it?
I got knocked overboard, and
In the hustle of everything?
yeah, I was sitting in the front of the boat with 2 guys. They wasn't right next to me. They were kind of back from me.
Okay.
And when they swung around to start firing back, they knocked me out of the boat. And
Wow. So you got accidentally knocked out of the boat?
got accidentally knocked out of the boat, and lost my rifle in the meantime. And so I swam to shore, mostly underwater. And when I got to shore, all I had for a weapon was a smoke grenade, which only gives off smoke, so it's not much help.
Right.
But the rest of the platoon that was in the first boat, they went on down the river a little piece and then got off the boat and walked back, and they found me on the
That was my next
bank.
question. Is how? So they went back and found you? Okay. Wow. So
And I got a small piece of shrapnel in my finger. Was the only thing that I got from, which is just a piece of metal of some kind. Don't know what kind of metal it was.
Right.
And they didn't cut it open and get the piece out. It just finally floated its way out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so also you had mentioned something before about the enemy. Sometimes when they would they like to fight. They like to fight at night. They like to be in the dark, and they would get high, and then they would just be making all these loud noises, and it would just be very scary. Do you remember that? Telling me about that?
Yeah, they get high on drugs, and they come running at you, and what they call a human wave, just one wave after another of them coming at you and shooting. And when you shot those down, there was more behind them. And sometimes they'd have what they call a claymore mine. It looks like it's shaped like almost like a television screen, and it's curved, and it's about that thick, and it's full of explosives and ball bearings, I think.
Okay.
is the metal in there. And there's a detonator that goes with it, that sets it off. We used them on our perimeter at night. If we put a trip wire there, and if somebody came along, they'd trip over that wire and blast them.
Okay.
And one guy would have the Claymore mine on his chest, and his buddy behind him would have the detonator to let it off if he made it close enough to.
So one would have it on him, the other one would blow him up as he got close enough.
Well, both of them be blown up. It would do seemed like it'd go out like 50 yards, but I'm not positive about that.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't ever see it.
Okay.
I just heard about it.
All right. Well, tell me about. I know another story about you were on an ambush one night and you had a grenade. Thing came out. Y'all thought you were going.
Well, I pulled the pin out and was going to throw it, and then.
Well, what was it? Let's back up. So it's at night, right? And you're waiting for an ambush.
Yeah, you're waiting beside a trail in a line. I don't know how many feet apart each guy was lined up.
Okay.
And you were just sitting there waiting for somebody to come down the trail, and if they came down the trail, you opened up with your rifle, or you could throw a grenade, or whatever. One time you would throw a grenade if it was far enough away from you, because if you throw it
you wouldn't
too
like
close,
kind of throw it right there in front of
throw
you.
it right out in front of you. But I pulled the pin in the grenade thinking I was going to throw it.
Did they call the signal that they were about to go?
No, I heard something, and
okay.
It was stupid to even pull the pin. I shouldn't even been using a hand grenade. I should have been using my rifle. For some reason, I pulled the pin out.
What happened?
And I lost the pin. I dropped the pin in the meantime.
Was that night?
And so I had to sit there and hold the grenade in my hand the rest of the night, because you couldn't leave till in the morning.
How long was that you held it?
Probably just a few hours. It was
It's like it's nothing.
Well, you're gonna be awake anyway. You don't sleep on.
Or you're
ambush.
awake now.
Yeah, you definitely awake at you got a live hand grenade. But
okay,
yeah, you're gonna be up all night anyway on ambush. You're not gonna sleep. You got to be ready in case somebody comes through.
So what happened? So eventually you do what?
In the morning I found the pin. It was right there. I just couldn't feel it, and all the grass and other junk there on the ground. Hard to find.
Yeah.
All it is a little ring with a. You know what a Carter pin looks like?
A what?
Cotter pin.
No.
It's got two arms on it, and then it's got a little head at the top. It's just a piece of metal,
Okay.
a strip of metal, and you stick the pin through there, and then you bend one of the things around to hold it in place so the pin doesn't come out.
Okay.
And it was just on a little small ring, so it was a small thing. The pin wasn't but about that long.
All right. So there are some questions that some people think they don't know if it's appropriate to ask. So I'm going to ask you. So did you kill anybody?
Not that I know of. I didn't see anybody fall, and I was positive that my bullet was the one, because I was just firing. Most of the time when we were firing at somebody that was in a bunker.
Okay.
And by the time you got up there, he might be shot, but you got 10 or 15 people shooting at him. You don't know whose bullet penetrated and got him.
Okay.
So, and that was mostly what we were up against. I was lucky enough not to run into any of the regular army, the North Vietnamese army.
Mm-hmm.
They would send them down, and I ended up in the jungle the last few months I was there. But my unit didn't ever run into anything like that. You were in trouble when they came at you, and that's usually when when they had the Claymore mine on their chest
Uh-huh.
and run at you. They got waves and waves of people because the VC usually, there's only usually a few that you're fighting. That's the North Vietnamese that are fighting for.
There's only a few that you're fighting
At one time.
at one time.
Yeah.
What, they just didn't.
They just hide, and a lot of times they be in bunkers and they shoot at you, and by the time you get up there, they're gone.
Okay.
And they're just trying to pick off as many people as they can before they have to run.
No, the Americans weren't that way. They
No.
were. Yeah. Okay.
And
All right. So, were you a tunnel rat?
yeah.
What's
yeah.
that?
Well, when they find tunnels that the Vietnamese hid their soldiers in, and we even found one that was a hospital that was underground. And
Really?
when we find, it was great big old thing, great big old rooms down there. I mean, it was really elaborate. I didn't go into that one. I was just told about it. I was there, but I didn't go down in there.
So a tunnel rat does what? You're walking along and they find a tunnel, and what happens?
They drop you down in there, and
That's nice.
And you with a 45, and you see if there's anybody down there. If the enemy's down there, and you try to shoot him before he shoots you.
That doesn't seem like something you would want to do.
No, you don't.
Because if there is somebody down there, they're not gonna.
In the Army, they don't give you a choice.
Okay.
They say you do this, and that's what you're trained to do, because in battle, that's the way you have to be. You have to just follow orders, no matter what. Because if you have too many people saying, "Well, I ain't going to do that," you're not going to win the battle in that way.
Yeah, and then everybody's gonna stay.
You just got to go blindly on.
So, all right. So, tell me one tunnel rat story. You go down, and what do you see?
I didn't ever find anybody down in one.
You just went in. There was
I
nothing
just
there.
went in and there was nothing there, and I didn't do that, all the time. Just sometimes, if I was walking point, that's the first man out, and everybody else follows him.
Well, speaking of,
and I ran into one, I may be the one that goes down there and get it. But if I'm on back away from the first unit going in, I probably wouldn't even see it.
Okay.
They'd have the engineers blow it up before I got up to it.
okay. So, speaking of rat and point. I think you said once they seem to always put you on point. You got that job a lot.
Yeah,
my sergeant.
Yeah, my platoon sergeant didn't like me. I probably did something that he didn't like when we were still down at Fort Benning before we went over, and
That's the way he was.
yeah, that's just way it was,
Yeah. All right. So, but speaking of rat, did you eat any rat?
Yep.
Tell me about it. It tastes like chicken.
I ate part of a rat when I found out what it
As
was.
opposed to the whole thing.
Yeah,
That's good.
I think I swallowed a little bit of it.
Why you
before
eat
I
rat?
found this little Vietnamese girl gave it to me, and she was a nice little girl. She's probably about 10 years old, and she's a real sweet girl. And I talked to a group of them, and she said, "Hey, try this," and handed me something, and it was meat wrapped up in some kind of leaf. And so I was eating it, and one of the her friends said, "That's a rat, don't you?" I said, "No, I sure didn't." And I spit out what I had in my mouth, but I think I'd already swallowed a little bit of it. I was after we got caught in that ambush, they sent me into forward supply unit and I washed dishes for about a month, and that's where
that happened?
Yeah, it was set up at the Vietnamese officer training school. And her dad was
For South Vietnam?
Yeah, her dad was I think he was a training officer there, and they come up to the fence. We were fenced in or away from them, and they'd come up to the fence and talk, and
Yeah. All right. So my dad was in World War II in the Korean War. Did you ever talk to him about any of this?
I can't remember if we ever talked about. I'm sure we talked about Vietnam, but I wouldn't know what we talked about. He told me about him being one of the first men to go through the
Infiltration course?
Yeah, infiltration course.
When they invented that?
Yeah.
Yes.
They started that.
So you may not have any reason to watch any of the Vietnam movies. They came out. There's a lot of them that came out in the 80s. I mean, did you see any of those, and do you think those are accurate, or what do you say?
Yeah, I saw one. I forget what the name of it was, and it was very realistic. And
Hamburger Hill?
No,
Platoon?
It might have been Platoon. It was one of them, and
Full Metal Jacket?
yeah, it might have been
Full Metal Jacket?
because it hadn't been that long ago that me and Patty sat and watched it, and I told her the parts that looked real realistic in it, and I think they had what we call an eagle flight. They would pick us up in helicopters and take us out in the field and drop us into a known VC area, and we had to walk out of it, walk our way through it and out of it. And they call them eagle flights. They drop you off, and sometimes they
drop you off. I mean, like by rope or parachute or what?
Well, you jump. They got the
chopper. You get down low. Okay.
The chopper got down close to the ground, and you jumped out into the rice paddies.
Okay.
And sometimes you sink down to almost your waist, according to how deep the mud was there.
I wanted to ask you a question earlier. So before you joined up, have you ever handled a gun?
Yeah. I handled BB guns and 22, but I hadn't handled
anything big.
And I handled a BB gun more than anything, because when I was a kid, I lived in the country, and of course, you buy your little boy a BB gun to go out and shoot at birds in the woods. You don't have a whole lot to do in the country, so I was familiar with guns, but mostly with a BB gun.
Okay.
Part of our training before we went to Vietnam, we went into the woods, and we had a BB gun, BB rifle, and targets would swing up like it was the enemy, and when it sprung up, you had to hit him with a BB. And I thought it was pretty stupid to be out in the woods shooting at the enemy with a BB gun, but that was all part of the training.
Well, I think we're kind of close to the end. So this is a topic that some people just don't want to talk about. It can even be upsetting and everything, and I understand that. You don't talk about it much, I don't think. You talk about it with your son Adam and Ashley much before?
I think I talked more to Ashley because he sat down and interviewed me one time like this for one of his classes.
Okay.
Just a few years ago, really.
Okay.
And I've sat around and talked a little bit with Adam, but not one-on-one. I don't think I've ever talked just one-on-one with Adam like I did Ashley. I feel real lucky. I guess it's my personality. It made the difference in how I acted when I got back from Vietnam, because I saw people get killed, saw a lot of dead bodies, saw a lot of people getting their arms and hands and stuff blown off. But I didn't have the problems that a lot of people had when I got back. I didn't have a lot of dreams about it, and I don't know if it's just my personality or what made the difference in that, but it hadn't really ever bothered me.
Wow.
Real bad, I mean, I don't think I ever had any nightmares about it. I remember when I first got back, I was walking over there at Georgia Tech. Don't know what I was doing over there. I was with some buddies doing something. And I was walking along and somebody threw a firecracker. And when it went off, I found myself picking myself up off the ground because I'd automatically dove to the ground when the firecracker went off.
Just from your experience?
Yeah, but I just got back from Vietnam then. But other than that, you know, it hadn't been a real problem with me. I don't know why, but I guess it's just my personality. I'm kind of laid back, and so.
Well, regardless of anybody's belief about Vietnam, which is, you know, a long time ago, so there's not really anything to debate about things, I guess. But you served our country, and this is Memorial Day coming up, and so thank you for that. Is there any final thoughts or anything you want to
No.
give? Anything at all?
I was kind of afraid that I was going to have to go back to Vietnam after I got back home. Since I volunteered to go in the service and had 3 years, and I'd only been in for a year and a half when I came back home from Vietnam. I was afraid they were going to send me back over, but
You finished up?
yeah, I finished up down to Fort Benning.
Yeah, and you met my sister,
Yeah.
and it's just history after that.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's it. I did want to mention, this will be the last part we do on this interview. So something happened the other day where somebody came to your door and said, hey, we found out that you were in Vietnam, or you're a vet, and we wanted to do something nice for you. What happened with that?
A police officer a Doraville police officer came to the door and said that he had been in contact with the landscaping company that wanted to do something for a veteran, and that the Doraville mayor knew that I had served in Vietnam, and so she sent him over to the house to talk to me, and he put my name in, and they came over and redid my front yard, did a wonderful job. I mean, they went above and beyond what I expected for them to do. They were a commercial landscaping company, so they don't usually do residential, but they were just doing residential for this project, and I was very, very thankful for it, because my front yard was nasty looking, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Thanks, and I hope everybody's enjoyed some of these interviews I've done. Please subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.